It's preparing it. It's preparing. It's loading right now.
Here we still have to wait. Unbelievable. Tell me, you give me meeting is now streaming live on YouTube. This is what it says on my screen. Is it or is it not?
1 second.
Okay. Oh, Aaron, I see you. You're still wearing your hat. And David is there.
Okay, I think Rabbi could start.
Okay. Need a producer's chair or something like that. Okay. Because this is Parshas Emor, I've decided to not continue this week the series that we started of Hagdama L'Tefillah. We'll continue that next week. It's Parshas Emor, so this is obviously the Parsha of Sfiras HaOmer. If you recall, we learned a bit of it during Nisan. I'd like to focus on something which is, I think, very, very important, and it goes as follows. Well, there were times where I did a big series of the whole concept of the tefillas of the Sfiras HaOmer. Today, I want to focus only on a certain mizmor. The mizmor is Mizmor Samach Zayin in Tehillim, which we know, mamish from Kadmainim, we're talking about Rishonim, which mentioned that it was a minhag to say it during Sfiras HaOmer. This is brought down in Rishonim. To say it during Sfiras HaOmer. In the Ari, in the Shara Kavanis, is written first to say it during the counting of Sfiras HaOmer, but the minhag to say it during Sfiras HaOmer period, different times of the day. This is brought much earlier in Rishonim. It's also mentioned in the Shara Kavanis to be mechaven to say it in the tzur of a menorah. I don't know, you must go sometimes to a shul, specifically Nusach Nedot HaMizrach, and you'll see in front of the chazan, there is this mizmor is written in the shape of a menorah, literally 7 branches. We'll analyze that shortly. There's actually a machlokes in the Kubalim. Talmidim, Chaim Vital point out the menorah could be from right to left. I'll explain that shortly. I found that in most of the shuls, where they have this thing, it's actually the opposite. It's left to right, and I will explain shortly what that is. But in Kavanas, this is the Kavanim. The Reed discusses the Bar Chava. The Bal HaKeda mentions it. The Reikeach writes it. The Marshal has a whole kuntus on Menorahs Azov where he discusses this. It's interesting that the Bal HaKeda writes that this is called the Magain of David. I think I once mentioned this, that we all think that the 2 triangles, which merge in what you call the Star of David, found on our national flag, we call this the Magain of David. And what does that mean? Actually, it doesn't mean the shield looked like that, because if the shield looked like that, he wasn't very protected. It means to say, literally, as you probably, I don't know if you know a bit of your art, so you know that medieval knights used to have their coat of arms, or the coat of arms of the order, on their shields. Specifically, if you look at the art of the Crusaders, you'll see long shields, interesting, with long coat of arms, usually of the order, because they were there, different orders of people, different type, the Knights Templar, whatever it be, and they had their coat of arms there. So when we talk about Magain David, we talk about the coat of arms of David HaMelech. Now, this double triangle, there is no source anywhere, literally, to attribute this to David HaMelech. It actually, a double triangle has meaning in many, many different cultures and religions. There was a novel written 10, 15 years ago, actually dealing with the symbolism of the double triangle. Actually quite accurate. They did good research. But Sachakol, that has nothing to do with King David. What was on the, as much as we have any source for anything of what was on the coat of arms of King David, that would be this mizmar, if you have the sheets that I sent you, literally looking like this. This is the way the mizmar looks, okay? This literally looking like this. here you have this was on the coat of arms of David, which is really intriguing. We'd like to understand, we all know that, for example, we read Shavuos, we read Megillus Rus, because this is the day of David HaMelech, Ki Yadua. One of the reasons that Megillus Rus was even written by Shmuel was to describe the yichus of David HaMelech, Ki Yadua, based on the Gemara in Yevamos. So King David, we know his Yom Kippur was then, obviously he's also his Yom Yoledes, because we know that Yemeshna Yesneim Yamalek. So Shavuos is episode day of David HaMelech. And it's interesting that his coat of arms is actually that mizmor that we have to say during this period. One would like to understand what the meaning of this pasuk is, and what does it mean that it's written in a menorah form, and so on and so forth. I'd really like to try to understand this thing. It's more than that. If you look carefully, I don't know if you ever did this, in many books of Sfir Sa'imer, you'll have under the, in the list of the days, you'll have different words there in small lettering, which basically mean those are the meditations, according to the Ari, that you're supposed to be meditating at each and every day, every specific day. Now, it's interesting to know that there are 49 words in this Mizmar. And if you look under every day of Sfir Sa'imer, you're going to find another word dealing with that day. Just want you to know that that's number one. Not only that, but you'll also find, which is really very interesting, that in the biggest pasuk, which if you look carefully, it's going to be pasuk number 5. Yismachu v'iranu le'umim ki tishpot amim misho le'umim ba'aretz tanchem selah. There are 49 letters. And if you look carefully in your Sfir Sa'imer list, in any siddur which has this whole information, you'll see that every day we meditate on another letter of that pasuk. Now, obviously, this leads to a certain conclusion. It seems to be saying that the core of the Mizmar is that big pasuk. I'd like to try to understand what this all means and what this all has come from. The benigla, not benister. I'd like to explain this. I think it's a very important thing. And once you know what you're saying here, it becomes very, very meaningful. I for one, am very makbid to say lam natseach, and I'm also very makbid to say the shame of Ayin Beis, which is the Onabekoich Be'er Nechunya Ben Akana. But that's another time to discuss what that's doing. I'm very makbid to say that the tfilos of Rebbeinu Shalom and the L'Shem Yichud, these are already later. They are miyusad al pi Talmidei Ha'ari. This is not. This is latter day edition. This my family doesn't say. But definitely the Lav Natseach, this is ancient. I mean, it's ancient. It's a minig of Kadmonim. Kadmonim, the Rishonim bring is a minig Kadmonim. And on the B'koyach, you'd understand the meaning of it, and you'd understand why specifically here, you would, this is a very, very heavy tefillah. Very, very heavy tefillah. Actually, if you know, I've once discussed that this is Sachakol, poetry, which has within it a certain name of a Kadosh Baruch Hu. If you look at the abbreviations on the page we have here, after every line, you see abbreviations. That Sachako is a name of a Kadosh Baruch Hu with 42 letters. And that's the reason we ended with Baruch Shem K'vod Malchusa L'Olam V'ad, because the Dinizim in the Mikdash, after they heard the Shema Mefarish, they didn't say Amen. They said Baruch Shem K'vod Malchusa L'Olam V'ad. And that's why this is a pseudo-Mikdash experience. We evoke the Shem Hashem HaMefarish, which one of them is Shem Mem Beis. This is right in front of you. Obviously, it's not pronounced. And this is the shirish of this tefillah, and that's why we say quietly, as opposed to those people that when they sing this song, they sing this thing very loud. That's a bit wrong. That anything, that's the one part of the song which one should be singing very softly. V'lachash ki yadua. If you know the Gemara in Pesachim Daf Nun Vav, this is something we say belachash. But whatever it be, so those are I'd like to focus today, if you don't mind, on this Mizmor Samach Zayin. What is the meaning of it? So first of all, let's understand what this really is. If you look at the first sentence, one knows this is not part of the poem itself. This is what we would call musical instruction to the maestro, to the choir master. Lamanatseach, to the maestro. to the conductor. Menatzeach is what we call a conductor. B'neginot, which is a certain string instrument called neginot in the Mikdash. We can't clearly identify it, but we know it means to say that this is a song which is a solo of the neginot. It's like saying a violin concerto. Okay, so this is neginot means the song sang to this poem. The Levine would be standing on the madrigos of the Zorah, going into the Heichal. They would sing their song, and the choir master would. The music would be a solo of neginot. Mizmor shir is what you call the tempo. It's what we call the tempo. The tempo means to say. And here, let me explain something. I actually printed something here. I know it from earlier sources, but he writes it in a very nice way. It's a piece, if you look in your sheets, a piece of Pachad Yitzchak of my Rebbe's Zechron Livracha on Shar Chodesh Aviv, which is my Morim of Pesach, Maimer Nun Dalet. So there's a Ois there, Ois Ches. I'm just going to explain it in English because we have a lot to learn, but I really suggest you read that Ois Ches. He writes in a beautiful poetic way. It would be simple Hebrew. I wouldn't mind reading it now, but to read it and then explain it, I'd rather use my own language. And he writes as follows. He doesn't write his source, but I can tell you the source. What does Mizmor mean? Well, he got this, and I know he got it from there because he told me, from a book called Beis Yaakov of Ishbitza, book which I've spent years learning, where the Beis Yaakov explains what a Mizmor is. Mizmor is a poem which comes out of a feeling of distance, remoteness, with a cry for proximity. Mizmor is a word similar to one of the Avos Malacha called Zomer. Zomer means to prune. Mizmor, to prune. Okay, so when we talk about Mizmor, we're talking about a song which expresses remoteness, yira, a constricted persona, someone which feels far. And then there's shir. Shir, if we all know the Shola Shirim Kodesh, V'Shir HaShirim Kodesh Kedoshim. I don't know if you learn Shir HaShirim, but I suggest you try Shir HaShirim every Friday. That's the minhag I do since I'm a child. Must say it's a very special thing. And I remember as a child, we used to all be dressed and ready for Shabbos a good hour and a half before the Lich Ben Shin, before I'd look the snares. And we were little kids all dressed up in our Shabbos clothes, sitting in the living room, and we'd sit with my father and we would all say, sing Shir HaShirim together. That's why, it was pre-art scroll, so we learned it, from a good old Hertz Chumash. What it means, it means. It's a beautiful song of love. It's two people dying to find each other, and they're having a hard time finding each other. But it's unbelievable. It's the antithesis of Mizmor. If Mizmor is a sense of remoteness, Shir HaShirim is a sense of I must find you because we are shaykh to each other. It's what you call midas ha'ava. It's what we called when we learned multiple times what's called chesed versus gvura. If chesed means, the Rambam writes somewhere in the Vuchim, unlimited, extensive behavior, projecting of the self, what we call in Hebrew hachtzana, to bring yourself outward, and yira or gevura, containing yourself, restraining yourself, is the idea of actually, shriveling, restricting yourself. One has to understand those are the midos of chesed and gevura, and that's what we mean when we talk about ava and yira. We're not talking whether you love or afraid. It's more a psychological sense of what's happening within you. Are you brimming out and coming outward, or are you somebody shriveling? Now, the Rambam describes these things just to show you. If you have in your sheets, you should have them. It's actually, I don't know where it is. Maybe it's in the last sheet that you have. It's a Rambam Hilchos Yesodei HaTorah Perek Beis, where the Rambam describes Hakela Nichbad B'Neirah, this awesome and honorable, powerful God of power, of extensiveness. Kel means chesed, by the way. Chesed, Kel, Kol Hayom. The Gur writes this in his Bira Gran Shulchan Aruch, in Yeridea and the Kavanas of Shemos. Kel is chesed, Kel, Kol Hayom. Nichbad V'Neirah, he's both honorable and he's also awesome. Mitzvah, there's a mitzvah la'avo, to love him, for the yira of menu, and to be in awe from him. Shene'emar, as the pasuk says, v'aftat Hashem Elokecha. V'ne'emar, and also there's Hashem Elokecha tirah, not tirah. Now, if you look carefully, it's very interesting. The Rambam is not usually in habit of merging two halachas, which are two separate things, in one group. So nice, he should have said first it was the mitzvah of Ava. Tell me what it is. Then tell me there's the mitzvah of Yira, and tell me what it is. He doesn't do that. He puts it in one pack, and he said there's a mitzvah of Ava and Yira, with two distinct psukim which aren't even close to each other. And then in halacha beis, and this is going to be the reason why, because he does the same thing. So what is the avenue? What's the way of attaining Ava and Yira? Well, he says, B'shashi is bonena adam, when man contemplates, b'ma'asav, in God's doings or actions, u'bru'ava niflaim, and his wonderful creations. They're such great creations. You realize the infinite wisdom of God. She'en la'erech, there's nothing like it, like Kates, and it's infinite, it's endless. Miyad, immediately, intuitively, if you're an intelligent person which can respect great things, you see enormous wisdom, miyad, he will knee-jerk reaction, ohev, he will love, which means to say mishabeach, he will praise, mefa'er, he will glorify, but that's not enough, and it must be umitavet tava gdola, and he develops a great obsessive desire, Leida, to intimately know and internalize Hashem Gadol, the great name of God of Yud K Vav K. Now, all know that Rambam writes in the Nevuchim that Yud K Vav K is the name of God, not of interaction, not the God the interaction does. All the different names of God have a nun. You can have a nun vav after it. Elokeinu, Malkeinu, Adoneinu. There's no Yud K Vav K with a nun vav after it. Because that's not the name of God of interaction, that is the God for himself. Shem HaMefarish talks of God, who he is, not how he interacts with me, but what is he? That's how Rambam believes. The Kabbalah has other interpretation, but now I'm learning Rambam, so let's say that. Yud Kei Vav Kei, the infinite God, source of all, the Hoveh Kadmon, the supernal original being, Ashmimenu HaKol, which everything comes from him, bechayfetz, with his will, u'bicholos, with his omnipotence. That's as we once learned. The Ramban explains those two words, Hashem Elokeinu, in Yisrael, in the pasuk V'anochi Yud Kei Vav Kei Elokecha. So basically, what he says, man sees the God of science and sees the God of creation, his wisdom in artistry, etc. And you develop a, who is this? Like, who is this? No, it's so great. Like, who is this? Now, it's interesting. It takes for granted that a person which is seriously looking into this will have this reaction. One has to ask that, does everybody have that reaction? Well, one must come to a very simple conclusion. If you look at the Rambam, it's got to be someone which is a midbonein and adam. So either we lack in the tzuras adam, and that's why we're so callous, or we haven't taken the time to really contemplate. Truth of the matter is, the more one would go into the sciences, and here I mean specifically the natural sciences, or more so even physics, etc., you would actually be enamored. Your mind would blow to it with appreciation of the amount of knowledge. Like, goodness sakes, one follicle of hair has so much wisdom in it that it befuddles the most complex realities like crazy. You know, when we talk, people would, if you would really appreciate science, you would realize it's like, it's beyond, it's like, it's so great. And who is this that can do this? I want to know him. You become obsessively desired. That is the criteria for Avos Hashem. The criteria for Avos Hashem is an obsessive desire for knowing who God is, or as much as you humanly can, obviously. You'll be spending a lot of time trying to find out who is this God? What's the literature about him? Remember as a child, there was a book by Herman Wouk, This Is My God. Okay, he tried. Zichron Livracha was a good man. You know, but the question is, who is this God for you? Who is this? Not the God that's nice and not nice. Who is he in essence? What do we know about HaKadosh Baruch Hu? There is libraries of literature. Well, if you really love God, I guess you're going to have to start working on it. The Rambam then continues and says, and when you look at those same things, those Masavu Brava Niflaim, that you saw this unbelievable wisdom and you became obsessively obsessed with knowing more, going towards it, want to be close to it. Again, love by definition means the obsessive desire for constant proximity. Well, the first thing one day when you will fall in love, if you haven't already, you should love your Torah. That means you constantly want it near you. Constantly want it near you. Well, the closer you are to a person is by connecting with their personality and their deepest sense, their value system. My friends, everything else changes. Everything is temporal. The closer you get to a person is the inner mechanics of who this is. You can't know more. You don't know what the depth properties of a soul is. I don't know what it means. But being close to a person in Gashmis, material thing, that's, it's important, it's nice. But actually, we know that distance makes the heart grow fonder. The fact that we're not close in physically, you suddenly develop a closer understanding and you look for what the person really is. And that's the true closeness. So you're never going to touch God. But mitavet tavak dola leidat, to know, that is a sense of love. That's what love really is. An obsessive desire for constant proximity, and we talk about God means constant awareness and understanding. And then he says, the Rambam continues, when you contemplate there's the same things, another thing happens to you. Miyad, again, an intuitive reaction. And that means if you don't have it, you're either not an Adam or you're not being a Mizbainan. Miyad, hu nirtala churav, you recoil backwards. V'yarei, and you are in awe. V'yifached, you're even in fear. V'yodea, and he realizes, Yodea, as we mentioned, does not just mean cerebral knowledge. Yodea means internalization, and it becomes emotional knowledge. We've discussed this many times in the past. Shehu, that this you are, biryok tanash feila, afela. Compared to what I see here, I am a small, lowly creature. Afela, I am living with fogged vision. I really don't see anything. Omeid, and I stand b'di'ah kala, with my light-headed capabilities, mu'ata, and they're quite small. Lifnei tmim deot, in front of the ultimate perfection of wisdom. And you feel very small. That's called yira. Yira means, it's the feeling that, I don't know if you ever will get there, but I remember feeling that going to Zambia and standing in front of Victoria Falls, one of the wonders of the world. You say, wow, this is like so big, so powerful. And this God made this beautiful thing. Wow. You think about certain things and you really say, well, woo. So you understand, actually, Ava and Yira go together. Is the same thing that you see. That creates on one hand a reaction of sheer, a love song. I want to find more of you. I'm obsessed. This is the Shira Shirim story. And the opposite is also true. You suddenly it's so big, you feel so small. Now, I want you to understand, this isn't schizophrenia. These are two things which merge into one. It's like you're everywhere. I have to get close to you, yet I'm so far. I am so far and so small, yet I can't live if living is without you. And this is actually what this feeling is of a mizmor shir. So we go back and understand. When we have mizmor and shir, we have mizmor, a tempo of music of this poem, which will somehow teach you yira, a sense of being restricted, a sense of being constricted, small, shriveled. Afela, multvim deot, Lashon Rambam. And you'll have shir. Mitava tavak dola leidat Hashem Agdol. There's something there, I have to know it. It's interesting. These are it's almost like two poles. It isn't almost, it is. Yet in the world of thought, they can merge into one. And this idea of the merging of the mizmor and shir, having two types of tempos to this song, and you can imagine in your minds which musics would fit A versus B. That's the tempo of this song. So you have the musical instruction of this poem telling us, obviously, what we should be looking for in the poem. We should be looking for a sense, sentences which will describe a yearning of closeness, and the flip side, a feeling of remoteness, a feeling of standing in awe and feeling small in front of the great creator. So this first pasuk, as I said before, is actually, and if I only knew what the niginot really was and it would understand its music, it'd be much easier to explain this. I'm sorry, I don't think anybody's identified it yet. I've tried, no, nothing real. So I really, that's why I can't be more explicit in this. Okay, now what's the poem? The poem starts from Elokim Yechoneni V'Yivarchenu, and if you count the psukim from there are 7 psukim. 7 psukim from there, which have 49 words. Now, I want you to see something interesting, and that is if you count pasuk number 3 from there, which is the pasuk Yaducha Amim Elokim, Yaducha Amim Kulam. Then you go to pasuk number 5, and it's a repetition of the same pasuk, Yaducha Amim Elokim, Yaducha Amim Kulam. This alludes that what we have in front of us is what we call a chiastic structure. We look here as 2 poems, 2 mini poems, each one of 3 psukim, each one ending with Yaducha Amim Elokim, Yaducha Amim Kulam, which converge 3 plus 3 into the middle sentence, which is actually the largest sentence in the Mizmor, which has 49 letters to it. I'm not going to discuss today the importance of the numbers 7 and 49. This is for another period or time. There's a lot of literature in the Maral on this and other places. But let's just look at this. We're looking at a chiastic structure, which literally we have 3 plus 3. The right, I would say to the right, I have 3 sentences. To the left, I have another 3 sentences. And then I have a middle stem in the middle. Here's your menorah. So we talk about the idea of this mizmor being a menorah. It's not some, by the way, that's what they decided. If you read carefully, that is the structure that you would put to this chapter. Let's just see how they are parallel, and we'll try to explain what they mean. The first pasuk starts, Elokim Yechonenu V'Yivarchenu. We want grace and we want blessing, whatever that means. Look at the last pasuk. Yivarchenu Elokim V'Yiru Eishaklav. So it's again, we're looking for bracha. So one would say pasuk number 1. I'm going to use that at the moment, not counting the Lam Natsef, is the parallel to pasuk number 7. Okay. Then the second pasuk is something about Ladas Ba'eretz Darkecha. We want to know something. And then we go to the pasuk before the last. We want to know Eretz Nosno Yevu Yivarchenu Elokim Elokeinu. Obviously, they are somehow parallel. And go to the third pasuk, they are identical. The third pasuk, which is Yaducha Amim Elokim, and actually the 5th pasuk, which is Yaducha Amim Elokim, they are parallels. And that's what I mean when I say it goes literally right to left. The right side is the pasuk 1, 2, and 3. The left side is pasuk 7, 6, and 5. And then pasuk number 4 is the stem in which they all converge into. This is just reading the Tihlim, knowing that that's what it is. Now we want to know what these things really are. But that's the structure here. So I'm really looking for 2 mini prayers. And I can right now say it, understanding that the key to the mizmor was mizmor and shir. I'm going to be looking for a mizmor in one of those prayers and a shir in another one of those prayers, and then merging together in the middle, which is the equivalent of my Rambam of putting Ava and Yira together in one and merging them through one major theme. So I see Perik Beis Yisodi HaTorah Aloha Aleph Beis in this mizmor. I see the merging of a quest of proximity and I see the together and harmoniously with a sense of awe and distance. There's your menorah. Let's try to understand the meaning of the Perek and understand how this works. It'd be nice to want to do a series on Tehillim, but then it takes too long, some other time. The first pasuk, Elokim, Lord, actually powerful God, Lord, yeah. Lashon Surora v'Rabbanus, as Rashi writes in Sanhedrin, Dav Beis Amud Beis. Yichonenu, you will give me grace. Grace equals matnas china. Matnas china. V'yivarchenu, and you will bless me. You should bless us. Ye'er panav itanu, you should shine your countenance upon us, with us. Smile. Selah. What exactly are we asking for? Let's understand, just to maybe repeat things which hopefully we know. What is the concept of bracha? Well, we know from the Chinuch in Parshas Ekev, in his explanation of the concept of brachas, there in the mitzvahs aseh of birchas hamazon v'achalta v'savota v'rachta, the bracha means it's a statement. It's a statement, Baruch Atah, you are the source of all, of multitude, all shefa, all ribui. And because of that, I understand that. Now, give me that multitude, give me that shefa. My understanding that you are the source is the reason why you will give. My declaration of dependency, because I understand, B'ito hakol b'chefetz v'yacholet. Atahu abrecha gdola, you are the great pool, you are the source of all. From you is all. That makes me into a clay kibble, into a vessel, which now I can be a recipient. That's what the Chinuch says. Yivarchenu means give yourself to me. Make yourself a pool of sustenance and of multitudes and give yourself. The other, which explain Baruch from the word ni, berech. Berech means to say, you bend. When you want to come down, you bend your knee. Yivarchenu, can you bend your knee down towards us? Can you come down to us? Let there be more of you in our lives. Matnas chinam yechanenu v'yivarchenu. We want more of you. What do we want? Ye'er panav itanu sela. We need you to smile on us. Now, what does that mean? I remember when my b'chor, he's already a big Talmud Chacham, when he was a small child, he used to, when he was even my firstborn, I remember he used to creep into the bed at night and you say, Abba tistakel alai, just look at me. And then, no, I'll tiradem, don't fall asleep, just look at me. And he would fall asleep knowing that Abba looks at him. It's a certain sense, can you please just be there with me and smile for me? Give yourself to me. Not asking for this or that, give yourself to me. We see that in Shemona Esrei when we make a bracha and we ask for ha'oras panim. What do we ask for? In the bracha of Sim Shalayim, ki ba'or panecha nasata lanu Hashem Elokeinu Torat Chaim, the Torah of life, v'avat chesed, and an unquenchable desire for giving, for expressing ourselves. We look at here, means we're asking God to give himself equals give us enlightenment, give us Torat Chaim, give us understanding, the ultimate knowledge to know. We want to know. I have to say something before we continue just to understand this. There's a klal gadol. The Gemara says, Schar mitzvah b'hai al maleket. There's no reward for mitzvahs in this world. And you wonder, I read Parsha B'chukaisai. I say Kriya Shema every day. It mentions there a lot of sechar. Even by Yaakov Avinu, what did Yitin Lechatal Shemayim Mishmani Haaretz Rav Blachman V'Sirish? Why are you telling me schar mitzvah by Amalek? Adrabah, the pella is there's no mention anywhere in Chumash but some schar which we really can't grasp. It's called Olam Haba. For this we need Chazal, Tzadikim Yoshvim, Atoriseim, Perisheim, V'nenim miziva shchina. Okay, the best I know about that, when I was a kindergarten child, we were all in a circle around the kindergarten teacher. Her name was Mrs. Kaplan, Zechron Livracha. Okay, and she would tell us a story. We would bask in the glory. You know what I mean? You ever see these little kids with crowns on their heads and they're listening to us, and the Morash says whatever she says, and you all smile. So I remember as a child, is that what we're going to be doing in Olam Haba, like with Mrs. Kaplan, Tzaddikim, Yoshvim, Atarisam, Barashem? We're going to have our little crowns. We're going to sitting in a circle, and then in Shechina, we will bask in her glory. As a child, I always looked at that as an example of this is what this whole thing is for. Okay, it's obviously not that. It means the pleasure of understanding. Nene miziva shchina means to say we will have an understanding of the God that we experienced in life. Shchina comes to the word v'shachanti b'seicham. God that we experienced in whatever we experienced during our lives. Nene miziv, we will be enlightened and have the pleasure of understanding the ziv, which means the light coming from it equals enlightenment and understanding. Chal writes in the Akdama of Mesilas Yesharim, Ha'adam le'nivra elo lis'aneg al Hashem. No one knows what this great pleasure is, but it would seem to be that it is the pleasure of all pleasure, the sachar of all schar. I guess it's only people who are very frustrated in life and really want to know something, and they, you know, and their life is geared to, I got to figure this out. You're a mitaveh tava gdola leida. And you know, you're never going to be totally yodea. And you're going to get up there and finally it's going to be there. You're going to say, wow, this was worth it. And you realize to the extent that you're searching and searching, like you're in Shir Hashirim, you're searching and searching and you're so frustrated. Ultimately, when you do meet, it's going to be thunder. It'll be beautiful. And that's the tainug of Olam HaNeshamas. Obviously, something which can't be described. There's no word to explain it. It's something lies in the infinite nature of whatever Olam HaNeshamas is. Therefore, our language doesn't carry a word to describe it. The best we can do is use examples in our temporal existence, which don't do justice to it. This is literally, as the Gemara says, Ein bracha shruya ele b'davar asami min ha'ayin. Real bracha is in those things which are not seen and not measured. You can't put a box on it. As soon as you put something in a box, it's finite. Please, it's more than any box. We don't have a box of letters or of words for this. And that's why this is not mentioned in the Chumash. There's nothing to talk about. That's schar mitzvah. That's real bracha. The real giving of himself to you is something that you can't explain. Now, we have experiences like that also in our own world. For goodness sakes, a true sense of love. All the great authors, but everyone has his own feeling. What they will be describing is more sensual or hormonal. There's no description for the feeling of love. It's very personal. It's something else. I can just say obsessive desire, very nice. And can one know the feeling? Can one pinpoint into a box the pleasure? No. And that's small compared to this. Rambam writes in Hilchos Tshuva Perek Yud, if you look at all of Shir Hashirim, it's still finite. It's an example of the finite. The love of God is so much more than that. That's what he writes. Because there are no words for it. You can only do misholim, metaphors. That's why bracha, real bracha, has no description. And this is seen very closely if you look in your sheets. When we talk about the brachas of Yaakov Avinu that he received from Yitzchak, so we know that Yaakov Avinu and his brother, well, it seems to be a big argument there, who gets the brachas? Actually, a machlokes between Rivka and Yitzchak. And you know, Esav is so frustrated to get the brachas, he's willing to kill his brother. Now that's a very frum Jew that, he's willing to kill somebody because he stole the bracha of the Rebbe. Don't think I would want to kill somebody to that extent because he got a bracha that I wanted. Obviously, it's someone which understands the magnitude of that bracha and realizes it in a very tangible way. And he feels he's just lost his life. He feels that his brother stole his destiny. He feels his brother made his life meaningless. Now that's cool. That's definitely not the bracha of Yiten L'cha Elokim Mital HaShamayim Mishmani HaOretz V'Roiv Dagan V'Tiresh. Because we happen to know that what Esav got, because he didn't get that, he got good old Italy. Italia Shel Yavan, if you read Rashi. No, Italy pre-corona, nice country, beautiful actually. You're going to kill somebody because he got this arid space in Palestine or whatever it's called, okay? And you got Italy. That's why you're willing to murder, kill your your twin brother. No. All these things were superfluous. They weren't the real bracha. What was the real bracha? Well, if you look in Chumash, it says over there in Bereshis Chav Zayin, Pasuk Chava, Vayemer Elav Yitzchak Aviv Kshana, come close to me. Ushkali b'ni, kiss me, my son. This is actually the first kiss in the Chumash, and we all know, those who study different disciplines know that where something is mentioned the first time in the Torah, that's the headquarters. Here's where we find the Agdoros. Just remember this. This is the kiss, actually between a son and a father. Right name. And he kissed him. Vayigash vayishaklo, and he came close to him and he kissed him. Vayorach esreah b'gadav, and he smelled the scent of his clothes. Now Rashi already says, what do you mean he smelled the scent of the clothes? There's nothing worse than the smell, or the odor rather, of goat skin, and that's what he was wearing on his hands. No, he felt, this was obviously within prophecy, because you don't smell Reach Gan Eden with your nose. Just as you don't see visions with your flesh eyes, the concept of vision, Vayar, or seeing, Vayera Elav Avraham, does not mean he saw it with his optic nerve. Rather, it's a metaphor for a certain description of a prophetic vision. Well, if he smelt Reach Gan Eden, it also meant he had a certain prophetic understanding through which is somehow defined as smell, which told him, wow, this is mamash a person, this is Reach Gan Eden. And he says, Vayivarcheyu, and he blessed him. And it doesn't say what he said. Vayomer, and he said, seems to be after he blessed him, Re'ei, behold, Reach b'ni, my son, Kereach sadeh asher b'cho Hashem. You have the scent of the field that God had given you. And Rashi writes, Kereach hasadeh asher b'cho Hashem, natam bo reach tov, v'zeu sdei tapuchim, kein darshu chazal. I don't know if you ever sing the Mizmayrim of the Ariyah, Skinu Sudasa, before Friday night meal, Shabbos meal, Shalashudas, but you'll look it up and you'll find something there called Chakal Tapuchim, the orchard of apples. Whatever it means, this is definitely not the place. We're talking about a certain level of Ruchnius, a Makam Mishkan Ashchina, that you are immersed in it. You somehow have the scent of walking through that orchard. Parallel to the Lashon, the Gemara Chamisha Nichnasu Lepardes, there are 5 Tanoim which entered the orchard, which there it means entered the profound teachings of metaphysics. When we talk about profundity, we use the concept of an orchard, and here you have state tapuchim. This is what he says, wow, he blessed him without saying what he's blessing him with. And he says, wow, you are really a godly person. He doesn't say what he blessed him with. Look at the next pasuk. After he blessed him, without saying what, exclaiming, wow, you are really a person of state tapuchim. You're royal bracha. He then says, and God should give to you, Tal Hashemayim Mishmani Haaretz, Rav Dagim V'Tirash, and all the other pasuk until the end, until V'recha Baruch. But it starts with a Vav. Vav means and. It's not describing what the Varechehu means. After the Varechehu, it says, Rei B'neach Nikerecha Sadashe Birchei Hashem. This is an additive. And the answer is because the bracha is not explained. It's schar mitzvah b'ayal maleka. We don't have words to describe this bracha. But we know that in order to have this bracha, you also need parnasa. Imein kemach ein Torah. And that's schar mitzvah written in the mikra. As the Rambam explains by Chava, all the schar found in the mikra is talking about emtsoi, which will allow us to further our quest for understanding HaKadosh Baruch Hu through his Torah, through his mitzvahs, etc. So we say, Re'ech b'nikir v'yivarcheyu. That's what is this bracha? Well, if you go to the Perek Chav Ches, there it says, V'yiten lechaz birkat Avraham l'chal zarecha itcha, v'rishtachad es megurecha shenosan l'kim l'Avraham. And you read Rashi there, you'll understand what the question. He didn't want the bracha of mitala shema mishmani haaretz. He wanted birchos Avraham. Birchos Avraham means you are the person which was prophesied when God says a nation will come out of you, and you will be the locomotive which will take mankind back to monotheism. Don't you see the argument between the two brothers, or rather between the mother and the father? Who is the third Av in this chutam shulish shebemeher lo yinatek? Who's it going to be? Avram, Yitzchak, and is it Esav or is it of Yaakov? Now, we're not learning Pashas told this, but if you read your Rambans carefully, you'll understand the machlekes, but you have to read very carefully. I think every word counts. But this is what happened here. It's his destiny. Esav expected himself to be the continuation of monotheism wherever it was going to be. However he was going to take it, with his personality and his koiches and his milas or his chesroinus. He was going to be the third strand in that great rope. Shleisha Avos. That was his destiny. And can you imagine what he felt when someone stole his destiny? He felt he was destroyed, was murdered. He was thrown into the dung heap of history. His life is now meaningless. One can begin to understand the anger. Birchos Avraham. And Birchos Avraham, of actually what they really mean, the pasuk keeps quiet. Pasuk doesn't say. As I said before, what this means in Ruchnius, I don't know. I have no clue what it means when it says Avos Heim Heim Hamer Kavah. I don't know what that means. I can tell you multitudes of words, but I have nothing. It's not really a metaphor. I think I can truly understand its essence. I may be able to understand its. I can describe it in Hakdoros, but I can't tell you an Havana of Mahus. I may know its Metzius. I don't know its Mahus. That's why Stam Bracha means something which has to do with that refined, profound, beyond. When Bracha goes into particulars of Gashmis, you're talking, that's already described and at length. Look at all the psukim and chumash. That's what we have here. When the pasuk says here, by Yivarchenu, yeah, we're talking about bracha without describing what it is. Because that is an unbelievable sense of giving. You're giving yourself to us. Now, what do we want from him? What knowledge do we want? Do we want Baba Kama? Do we want Baba Metzia? Do we want Baba Basra? Do we want Bavli? Do you want Yerushalmi? What do we want? So here's something which is frightening. The pasuk says, "Ladas ba'aretz darkecha b'chol goyim yeshuatecha." What does that mean? You know, one of the greatest mystery in religion, the thing which really is a problem. It has been a problem for many people. I remember how many people left God after the Holocaust. And my neighborhood was full of them. to the extent I didn't even understand why we were religious at the time. I remember telling you I had asked my father that question. Tzadik Viralo, Rasha V'Tovlo. Seems to be that the worshippers of God are persecuted. The more you are a real Jew, the more you need protection. It's frightening. Tzaddik is Ralo, doesn't have much in this world. Jewish history tells us the story of persecution, blood, ashes. Tzaddik Viralo. Things aren't that good in history. Yirmiyahu cries, Maduach derech rishaim tzleicha. Why is it that the evil are very successful? Read Iyov. Iyov is a book talking about that man tries to say, God, why are you doing this to me? Or why are you letting this happen to me? Am I not a righteous person? And what does God answer at the end? If you look at the end, he says, you weren't with me when I created the world. So how do you expect to understand the answer? The answer of history lies into the reason for history. And therefore, when we will understand the reason, we will understand the goal. We will then understand why this was the avenue. Until I know that, until I really understand this God, what did you want? What exactly is your purpose? Why is this important to you? Till I understand more of him, I won't understand his will. I'll never understand what's the key to history. And you know, I want you to understand something. And that is, it's quite frightening. We want to understand is that even Moshe Rabbeinu asked this question. Moshe Rabbeinu begged, Hareini nos drachecha. Please teach me your path. Because your path is, you know, you're great in science. I really appreciate the beauty and the structure of science. But history, through the human eyes, even of Moshe Rabbeinu, even of the prophets Yirmiyahu, etc., it makes no sense. You think of it for 2 minutes when Avraham Avinu asks, how will I know that I will actually have this land equals, as Rashi said, that my children will continue having this commitment, although they will sin? You know what God answers? Well, first I want you to know they're going to go to hell. They're going to go to Mitzrayim. They're going to have a heavy 400 years of a terrible experience. Included in that, as we know, is Ema Chashecha Gdela Nefeles, as the Medrash and Rashi bring out. He started telling them all about the 4 exiles that we were in, all the persecution, the Inquisition, the Crusades, the Holocaust, and the works. And then he says, and then I'll take them out and they'll be nice and fine. And you went and said, what the oomph is this? I just wanted to know. You told me, well, the way to understand, answer your question, I've got to tell you that they're going to go through hell and I'll take them out at the end. And this is an enigma, like, hello, why does it have to be that way? Why does it have to be that way? It seems to be preconceived. God tells us already to Avraham Avinu way back then. Why is the road that way? And you know, basically, here's something which is very important to know. And that is, one could say, well, will we ever know? And the Gemara says we will. And here's a Gemara to understand. The Gemara says in Psachim and Yeshis Daf Nun, the Gemara says on the pasuk Vaya Hashem lemelech hakol haaretz, Bayom hahu yiyeh Hashem echad u'shma echad. We say that. The Gemara asked the question, Atu ha'idna, is it not true that even now, Lav echadu, isn't he one? Do we have a pantheon on the Olympus with a whole family of gods? We only have one. So what does it mean? Bayom hahu yiyeh Hashem echad. The Gemara says, Amar Reb Acha bar Chanina, Lo ka'olam hazeh olam haba. Not like the existence we're in now will be that existence in the ultimate future, way past the Messianic era, which is called Olam Haba. Olam hazeh, al b'surot tovot omer baruch hatov v'hametiv. When good things happen, child is born, You say, Atay v'ameitiv. We really appreciate it. We feel good. We're very happy. Try it. Have a child and say, Baruch Atay v'ameitiv. But the opposite is true, but Absurot Ra'ot, we say, Baruch Dayan Ha'emet. You know what that means? I think in your sheets, I bought a Rambam, which really should be seen. Rambam in Hilchis Brachas Perik Yud writes in Halacha Gimel, there's a big difference between the bracha of Baruch Atov HaMeitiv versus the bracha Baruch Dayan Ha'emet. Let's read this, it's underlined. Shema Shmua Tova Mevarech Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Olam Atov HaMeitiv. You're good and you do good. Shema Shmua Ra'ah, you heard something which isn't pleasant, which is bad. You are the just judge. One is a bracha describing you are good and you do good to people. No, good is his objective term. We've discussed this at length. It's a Rambam and Moreh Nevuchim. That means you make us feel good. You are good. You are the source of goodness, which you make us feel good with what you do. That's when we have Shmuah Tova. When Shmuah Ra comes along, I do not feel good. They can tell me all about the good in the world. You should feel good. Maybe I should. I don't. And therefore, I do not say that you're good. I don't say that you make me feel good. I do not say toiv and meitiv. But I acknowledge within my pain and with my questions that whatever is done has a meaning to it. And it's needed, and it's the truth, and the ultimate purpose of creation. Dayan ha'emet. You are the judge which judges in truth. It may be a terrible thing to do, but it's the right thing to do. It takes time to appreciate that. The Bach writes in Tud, this is the ultimate act of religion. When things are terrible, to be able to say Dayan ha'emet. You bow your head down in submission and you realize de'ah ktana mul tmim deot. You know what the right thing is. In my aunt's vision, I think this is horrendous. And I think of the mound of shoes walking through Auschwitz, or imagine the crematoriums and the gas chambers, and I cannot say it's good, but I will agree that you know what you're doing. And he continues and writes, emotionally, there are two emotions in these brachot. Rambam continues, "Chayav adam levarech ahara'a b'tovat nefesh, kiderech shemevarech ala tova b'simcha." Do you notice the difference? One is tovat nefesh. Yes, I totally give myself. I'm actually happy that I can say Dayan ha'emet. It's an unbelievable sense of accomplishment. It took me years to understand this, believe me. When I finally came to terms with the Dayan ha'emes of the Holocaust, I felt good about myself. I felt now I'm at peace with God. I'm not angry anymore. I really understand that I'm a biryak tanash feila, afela, mul tmim deot. Dayan ha'emet. It's the unbelievable sense of bowing your head down in front of the source of truth. That doesn't make it pleasant. It makes you feel good that you could do that. But that pain is there. No one makes me feel good about going to Auschwitz. To the extent I do not go on these trips, I can't. While if I could, then I'd really be a very holy man. Because if I can say there, Dayan ha'emet, standing there, wow. When I will be able to, maybe I will do it. I don't think I can do it yet. But I've come to peace with this, because of this Dayan ha'emet. And that was done b'toiv nefesh. As opposed to when I say Toiv HaMeitiv, my children are born, when good things happen to me, I say it b'simcha. Big difference. The Torah also points out this lashon. There's a big difference between simcha and Toivas Nefesh. The Rambam underlines this. Don't think for 1 minute a person can say Daina Emes B'Simcha, he'll be a liar. Because if he could say it B'Simcha, he should be saying Toiva Meitiv. So whatever stories you heard, write it down as Shtiot. They never happened. There's no such thing as Simcha by Daina Emes. So you want to understand, today, we don't know who God is. So there are good things about God, which we say at Toiva Meitiv, and we feel there's one, that's a great God. Here, we just went through Yom Ha'atzmaut, we're coming to Yom Yerushalayim. Wow, afterwards the Matan Torah. Wow, Toiva Meitiv. On the other hand, we had Yom HaZikaron, 27,000 boys died, and beforehand, 6 million of our brothers, sisters, grandparents, uncles, aunts, and I can talk about it personally, my own brother. 12 uncles and aunts, grandparents, went up in smoke or somewhere in a pit. That's Daina Emes. And that's an enigma. I'd really like to know what this is. I'd like to know what. And the Gemara says, by Yomahu Yiyah Shem Echad, there will be finally 2 gods. At the moment, I feel like there's 2 types of gods. The gods of the Holocaust and the God of Yom Ha'atzmaut. Time will come in history, we will see that everything is actually, you will feel good about history. And that's what it says. Olam hazeh absurot tovot tomer baruch tov v'ameitiv absurot ra'ot tomer baruch dayan ha'emet. Lo'olam haba kulo atov v'ameitiv. Now, the one who elaborates on this, I photostated this year. You can read them, and it's already, the time is going short. But Tzlach, the Night of Yehuda, bases on a certain Mekubal, which he called a Chassid Rabbeinu Ephraim of Raisha, explains literally that we will look at the history in hindsight and see it all Toiv v'hameitiv. Do you know what that means? It means you will walk on your heritage trips and see those shoes or glasses in Auschwitz, and you will feel good about it. Now, if you tell that to me today, I think you're deranged. I would probably get into a fury that you would dare say that language. It's almost like saying there is no way of seeing it this way with the 2 eyes I have. But b'yemahu, I will understand God. They're going to give me like another middle eye, like the Indian ladies have their dot. And you have a different perspective of everything. I'm going to understand God. And I will understand history. And ultimately, I will understand that everything is really good. And I'll say, thank you, God. This was actually a good thing. We're going to get the key to history in the future, to a certain extent. And that's what it means. There'll be one God, because at the moment in my eyes, I have 2. I have the great one, and I have the other one, which is abusive. I have the loving God, and I have the poked oven avos albanim. Pew! It feels like 2 gods. And the answer is, you're right. We understand your psychological dilemma. That's why the 2 brachas, ultimately, there'll be one. And the Gemara continues, Ushmo Echad. The Gemara continues that today we do not enunciate the letters Yud, K, Vav, K. We say instead of that, the Yud becomes an Aleph, the first Hey becomes a Dalet, the Vav becomes a Nun, and the last Hey becomes a Yud. We actually look at those 4 letters and we see them as if it's written there, Adoy Nun Yud. I say this because it's not as if it says that and you're saying something Baal Peh, then you wouldn't be Yotze Parsha Zacher. You have to read B'tech Eksav. A kochich means to say it's like a kri and a ksiv. The ksiv is Yud Kei Vav Kei, and the kri of Yud Kei Vav Kei now is Aleph Dalet Nun Yud. L'asad Lavai, as in the Mikdash, we will actually be able to enunciate and say Yud, Hey, Vav, and Hey. What does that mean? It means the same thing as before. You see, God doesn't want us to talk about things we have no clue of what they are. I don't know this Yud Kei Vav Kei. I know about him, but I don't know him. All I know, he's the boss. So I call him boss, governor, Adon. I know he's the boss. I know he's the king. I don't know him. The day will come that you will actually know him to a large extent, relatively, obviously. And therefore, you will actually finally be able to call him by his name. The two sides of the same coin. The more we know him, the more we will know history. When God said, Moshe asked, Hareini nos drachacha, and God says, Lo yiri adam v'chai. You can't really see me contemplatively and be a living being. Not at this stage in history. There will come a time. Vayah bayom hahu yeh Hashem echad u'shmo echad. So I want you to understand this is what we're asking for. The crazy bracha. We're asking God, shine your countenance upon us. Give us your wisdom. Show us closeness. Show your face to us. Smile to us. Give us the clue of the key to history. Ladas ba'aretz darkecha, b'chol goyim yeshuasecha. We want to know your path in history. We want to know how you are the salvation of all nations. Everything should be atov v'ameitiv. What's this for? Why do we want this great? We have tension. Is that what we're asking for? Please relieve my tension. No, we are greater than that. The world was not created for me. I am not the center of history, and neither are you. The world was created for all of mankind to acknowledge God and ultimately thank him for being. As you know, I've been quoted multitudes of times the lashon of the Ramban at the end of Parshas Bay. It's in your sheets where the Ramban says, every person time you do a mitzvah, you are acknowledging that God is your Lord. Because the Ramban explains the mitzvahs are there to tell us the story of how we met God in Egypt, the language of the Ramban. We discussed this a bit during Nisan. Every mitzvah v'chol shah she'adam modeh b'hem le'elokav. Modeh here means acknowledge. The kavanat kol mitzvot, and the kavan intent of all mitzvot. She'na'amin be'elokeinu, we should believe in our God. V'nodeh elav, we should acknowledge to him she'u bar'anu, that he created us. V'i kavanat yitzira she'en lanu tam acher b'yitzira rishona. ואין אל עליון חפץ בתחתונים מלבד שידע האדם ויודה לאלוקיו שבראו. You must acknowledge. Remember, I was teaching this that in Maidim, there are two types of Haidar there. Maidim anachna lach sha'ato Hashem Elokeinu means I acknowledge. Modeh, like Maidim b'miktzas. Noida l'chon esaper tilotecha, that's thanking you. The first one, I'm acknowledging you. The second one, I'm thanking you. So when understand our goal is for humanity to acknowledge God. Man, Homo sapien, it's not you, it's not Klal Yisrael, it's humanity. God wanted all of humanity to acknowledge him. Adam made a mistake. The world plunged into paganism, and wherever it's going now, it's probably closer to hedonism and atheism, whatever it only be. And our job is to bring monotheism to the world. And we pray for the world here, not for ourselves. Yoducha amim elokim. They should be maidalacha. They should acknowledge you and they will thank you. Yoducha amim kulam. They will say toiva ameitiv on all of history. If they would realize who you are and realize what history is, they would all acknowledge monotheism. And that's what you're asking for. You're asking for a sense of love, of proximity. Give us the knowledge. Give the world the knowledge. Let the world turn to you, acknowledge you, and finally embrace you. That's prayer number one. That's the shir. That's the ahava. Let's go to the other prayer. The other prayer is the prayer of Yira. The other prayer starts again. The parallel of the first pasuk is the seventh pasuk. Yivarchenu elukim v'yir'u kol afsei haaretz. Not only do you want people to love God, to acknowledge him, to say atov v'ameitiv, Same token, we also want them to experience awe, distance, feeling biryakta nashfela afela multmim deot. Literally, here's where the mizmor starts. What is the ultimate tool of standing in awe in front of God? I told you I think it's science. As opposed to history, which creates theological issues, science is the ultimate tool of understanding the great wisdom of God. And the Rambam writes it, you feel very small, you shrivel. It's a pasuk in Yirmiyahu. In your sheets, you have it. Pasuk says in Yirmiyahu, in Perik Hey, starting with pasuk Chaf. Hagidu zot bebet Yaakov, v'ashmi'uha b'Yehuda lemor. Tell this in the house of Jacob. Let it be heard in Judea, and this is what you are to say. Shimu nazois am sachal ve'en lev. Listen to this, please, foolish people which have no understanding, or rather callous, have no heart for understanding. Einayim lehem v'lo yiru, you have eyes and you are totally blind. Oznaim lehem, you have ears, v'lo yishmo, you do not understand, you do not hear. You are callous, you're surrounded with God, and you're simply oblivious. Ha'oti lo tirau, can it be that you will not be in awe from me? Ne'um Hashem, says God. Im bipanai lo tachilu, how could it be that you do not frightened? Why aren't you shaking in front of me? Asher samti chol gvul layam, I'm the one who set the laws of science, which basically the shore is where the sea stops. Chak olam, this is a law of science. V'lo yavrenu, the waters will not pass the seashore. But yizgashu, and they will roar those waves. V'lo yuchalu, they will not be able to go further. V'hamu galav, and those waves will go churn and go up and down below. Yavrenu, they won't pass the shore. Don't you look at the laws of nature? Don't you see the complexities of natural sciences? How can you not be in awe of God? Yet this nation has a very rebellious heart. Saru vayelechu, they walked away from thinking and feeling, and they walked away from truths. They did not say internally, Nirana et Hashem Elokeinu, let us be in awe in front of this infinite God, which is our Lord. Hanoten geshem v'yoreu malkosh, he gives the different seasons of rain, b'ito in X1 in their time. Shvuot chukot katsir yishmar lanu, he takes care to make sure that we always have those weeks of harvest. Those weeks of harvest, you remember what weeks we're in? We have literally the agricultural cycle. He's talking to a farming community. The agricultural cycle is something which should cause awe. Why is it that you're not sensitive to nature? Well, to us, we'll say, because we live in the urban world and we think that tomatoes grow up in plastic bags in a shelf in a supermarket. That's if you never live in Manhattan. But the truth is, it's your sins that swerved you. And your iniquities are the things which cause this reality that you cannot see things in the right way. We have put up blocks. We have blinded ourselves. We've made ourselves callous with our avonosu chataim. And therefore, we're oblivious to the normal reality of seeing Yiras Hashem just from nature. Chukot katsir yishmor lanu. That is a makam of yira. Yeshem yoreh umalkosh should be a makam of yira. Gvul samta layam should be a makam of yira. Those are the natural teachers of God awareness which generate awe. These are the natural teachers. They're just examples of how science is the source of this Rambam. Birya ktana shvela afela multmim deim. That's the sense of yira. And that's exactly what this pasuk says. If we pray now, we look at this prayer. Yes, God, I want you to generate awe. How do we generate awe? How does the world see awe? We go back one pasuk Eretz natna yivula, the land gave its bounty. Yivorcheinu Elokim Elokenu. It is the blessing of God. Let God show us himself within the natural reality of Eretz Nasa Yivula. Chukos Kotzir Yishmer Lanu. And we will see that finally take away those chatoim and avonos, those einaim shelo ro'im, those oznaim shelo shom'im, that leiv kosher ka'evan. We want to, please take that all away and make us normal and sensitive. We should be able to experience yira just by seeing Masavu B'Rava Niflaim, the order of science. And we should be feeling Mamish Yira. Not just us, again, the world. Kol Avsei Aretz. This is the shir of the Mizmor. You know what the goal of this is? Once again, Yaducha Amim Elokim, Yaducha Amim Kulam. We want them to acknowledge you. We want them to thank you, because that's what they're there for. We have two prayers. One is, give me a sense of understanding of history. I should know more about you and be drawn to you. Mitavet tavak dola leidat Hashem hagadol. That's that first part of that Rambam. Give me a sense of understanding sciences. Take away those blinders from my eyes. Clean my chatoim and avainos, that I should be able to see what I'm experiencing. And then I will experience de'ak tanash fela afela multmim deot, yira. Here's your mizmor and your shir. And they both converge into one. Because the middle stem is yismechu v'iranu le'umim. And that's the goal at the end. Let them be happy and let them sing. All the nations. Ki tishpot amim yishor. You judge actually all the nations correctly. Ulumim ba'arz tanchem. You lead the nations in the world. But we don't just say Dayina Emes, we say Yismuchu v'Irananu. We now understand that Dayina Emes is Taiva Meitiv. Yismuchu v'Irananu lu'umim, ki tishpot mishor. That Dayina Emes now becomes a source of simcha and song. Ultimately, you're praying for Haya b'yom ahu yiyah Hashem echad u'shmo echad. That's why this is a menorah. The goal of reality is for man literally laid that man has to and ultimately say, we must acknowledge and ultimately feel so happy and thank. That's what this prayer is. The merging of Ava and Yira into one. The understanding of the infinite God, which we don't really understand, but we want to know. That's the key to history. And the capability of seeing the God of day to day within our typical experience. The first prayer is a quest for philosophical understanding of metaphysics, trying to understand that which at the moment is not even capable of understanding. The other prayer is, can you help us being sensitive to the information which is right in front of our nose? But our eyes are clogged, our ears are clogged. Can you take that away? If you really want to know that in symbology, the double triangle is exactly that. The triangle which goes upward, that's the triangle which in symbology is that of what we call Zohar, the source. In Judaism, that would be called Yud Kei Vav Kei. We call Kadosh Baruch Hu, the source of everything. The triangle going downward, which looks like a cup, triangle with the broad side on top going downward, that's a feminine symbol. That's what we call Shechina, the God which we perceive. He resides amongst us. We just have to be able to see him. The triangle pointing upward, that's what we call Kadosh Baruch Hu, the infinite God that we don't know. Triangle going downward is the God of science. Merging of those two triangles are merging the understanding of God of history and experiencing the God of science. Merged together, that's what you have as a star. Those two triangles merge into one. It's what you call Yichud, Kutchabrichu, Ushchina. Putting together the infinite God beyond comprehension and also the God of experience. Yes, that is not the Magain of David, but definitely the same idea. This is this Perek in Tehillim. That's what Malchus Hashem is. Malchus Hashem, the Malchus of David, is not just going up in the heavens. You know, as the Kutchka said, Malachim and Srafim, God has plenty up in the heavens. He needs men living here in a somehow dreary, simple world. Because he wants you to see the heavens here. When I say elevating them, is can you see it here? Rav Blachman says, you know, people make a mistake. They think they're coming to Eretz Yisrael. They see Balachim, Srafim, Ifani HaKodesh. No, it's dust and stones and bones. But people make another mistake. They think this is just dust and stones and bones. No. If you know how to look at those stones and those bones, that is Malachim, Srafim, and Ifani HaKodesh. That's called merging the two triangles. It's called merging the two prayers into one stem. And ultimately, we were able to say, HaToiva made B'yemahu Yeh Hashem Echad U'Shmai Echad, which is ultimately Malchus HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There, this is the avodah of this period. The Sphere Sa'omer is the time when, on one hand, we experience tremendous enlightenment. Whether it be Gulas Mitzrayim will be the ultimate enlightenment of Shuas. But we go past through a period of 7 weeks, which are the weeks of harvest, the weeks of the farmer. We start with enlightenment. We translate that into the farm world. And finally, we take all, and that takes it back to enlightenment. It's what you cause, my Rebbe once told me, the idea of a man is to be mafshit, the muchash, v'lahamchish es amupshat. You conceptualize that which is tangible. You find out what it really is. And then you take that conceptualization and make that tangible. Actually see it in the tangible world. That's the prayer of this Perek. That's the prayer of this Menorah. That actually is the converging of those two triangles. Should have a meaningless Sphere Sa'omer, guys. See you. And tomorrow we go back to the real thing, learning Gemara. Take care. Have a good night. Okay? Bye.